With the wedding so close and gold prices surging, Chase and I had decided to skip the bridal gold set for now to save money. The night before our engagement party, he secretly bought me a gold solitaire ring as a surprise. "Babe, I know you only said no gold to save me money, but I had to get you a ring. Trust me, once I start making real money, I'll bury you in gold." I was touched and felt sorry he'd spent anything, so the next day I sneaked the ring back to the jewelry store for a refund. "This ring is a freebie from a promotion," the saleswoman said, smile frozen on her face as she slid it back. "If you want a refund, you'll have to return the 100-gram solid gold bangle it came with." She flashed the carbon copy invoice in her hand. I stared at it, stunned. The next second I saw Skylar's new Instagram post. A close-up of her thick gold bangle. Nothing beats being the girlfriend instead of the fiancé. #gold #spoiled. My eyes stung the instant I read it. Every injustice I'd swallowed rushed up at once. I grabbed my phone and called Chase. He rejected every single call. A moment later, Skylar messaged me a video and a dropped pin. In the clip I saw Chase, who'd sworn he was working late, 3 sheets to the wind, slurring Skylar's name over and over. That was the moment the last thread snapped. "Chase is pretty wasted. Come pick him up?" What used to be an everyday request now felt like a thorn digging into me. I hailed a cab and raced over. The club was a dizzying crush of noise and lights. I shoved open the private room door to find a dozen bodies draped over one another. Chase's face was crimson, his hands glued to Skylar's waist. "Oh snap, wifey's doing bed check. Ring's not even on yet, and she's already on patrol. Bro's freedom ends the day he signs that license." The heckling washed over me. My gaze locked on the solid gold bangle circling Skylar's wrist, and my hands started to shake. But I knew this wasn't the time for questions. "Chase, let's go home." I reached for him. He squinted, shook me off. "Who says I'm going anywhere with you? Wherever Skylar is, that's home." The slurred sentence detonated inside me. The audience of smirks made my skin crawl. "Luna, don't take it personally." "He's trashed," Skylar said, all sympathy, stroking his hair. "Chase, hey, wake up. It's Luna." The intimacy was so natural they might as well have been the couple. Chase lurched upright, wagging a finger in my face. "Luna, my idiot girlfriend. Sky, you should have seen her when I handed her that plain band, grinning like she won the lottery." The room exploded in laughter. A ball of fire lodged in my chest. "Sky, I know you're mad I'm getting hitched, but I swear every holiday I'll still spoil you, okay?" He held out his phone. "Look, I ordered the bag, delivery tomorrow." I caught the price tag at 30 grand. 8 years together, and he'd never gifted me a single thing, yet every festival another present for her. Now a $30,000 purse. Tight-fisted with me, lavish with Skylar. Every dollar I'd saved him had detoured straight into her pocket. Remembering her smug Instagram post, I felt like the punchline to a cosmic joke. Skylar and Chase had always been a splinter I couldn't remove. Anything Skylar needed, Chase sprinted to supply, waving the same excuse. "She grew up in my house, no parents, no family. She's basically my little sister." But I'd loved him, wanted the wedding, so I swallowed it. Seeing that bangle, I couldn't swallow anymore. I lifted a glass from the table and hurled the drink in his face. Skylar shrieked and threw herself over him. I didn't wait for the encore. I spun toward the door. Chase grabbed my wrist. "You drench me and walk. Apologize." He was sobering up fast, blinking. "Luna." His brows snapped together. "You checking up on me?" Before I could answer, Skylar stepped between us. "I asked Luna to come. I know she hates you staying out late." Her single sentence sent the entourage into a chorus of snickers. Big wifey hasn't spoken, and little wifey's already laying down curfew. Yeah, our big wifey never cared how hard Chase partied. I stared straight into Chase's eyes. "Who exactly is the big wifey?" He straightened, glanced at Skylar. "Whoever's wearing the gold, obviously." The room howled, so everyone knew. I felt stripped naked, humiliation burning through me. "Luna, ignore them," Skylar soothed. "I bought the bangle myself." Chase didn't. She stepped closer. "He's getting married, everyone's wasted. Words are just noise." I looked at Chase and laughed coldly. "Really?" He gave a small nod, silent. "Then thank you so much for gifting your devoted fiancé the free trinket you got with your Just a Friend's 30 grand bracelet." I loaded the word boyfriend like a bullet. Chase flushed crimson first. "Luna, cut it out. What boyfriend-girlfriend crap? Skylar's single. Don't smear her reputation." Watching him deflect, my heart iced over. But the plain band in my palm felt white-hot. "Take it back. I'm not desperate enough to wear somebody's freebie." "Chase, we're done. Engagement's off." Something seemed to crack inside his skull. The last trace of booze evaporated. I walked out without looking back. Chase, you chasing her or what? Rings half off if you wait 3 days. The jeers tailed me down the corridor. Chase stared after me, a dull ache blooming in his chest. But his feet stayed glued. He waved dismissively. Relax. She'll crawl back inside 72 hours. His careless remark reached me just as the elevator doors opened, and the tears I'd held back finally fell. We'd met freshman year. 8 years later, I'd turned down a 6-figure downtown offer to follow him home and bankroll his failed startup. Parents, friends, everyone called me a fool for love. Karma just answered. The love I thought was my armor turned out to be the blade that cut me deepest. The instant I stepped through my front door, my phone lit up with charge after charge. Chase must have wanted to force me to fold. Every swipe today had been on the supplemental credit card I'd given him. First 5,000, then 8, then another 1,800. They'd bar-hopped straight through the night. Since his failed startup at the beginning of the year, Chase hadn't looked for a real job once. But everyone kept saying we were at that age. So I'd drained every dollar I'd saved and put the down payment on a condo myself. To make things easier, I'd added him as an authorized user on my account. While I meal prepped turkey and rice to save pennies for our wedding, he'd just blown through more than 10 grand in one evening. I was shaking with rage. I opened my banking app and killed the card on the spot. My phone rang 5 seconds later. Luna, have you lost your damn mind? The money in that account is everything I earned these last few years. I actually laughed out loud. These last few years he'd been networking or closing a round. Half the time I was the one picking up the dinner tab. For years of building his company, 500,000 gone, and I'd still wired him another 100,000 of my own. What money was he talking about? Chase, if your brain's short-circuited, go see a neurologist. In 4 years you haven't brought home a single dollar for us to spend. I hung up and blocked his number. That night I stuffed every t-shirt, every hoodie, every stupid video game console of his into contractor bags and stacked them outside the deadbolt. He didn't show his face for the next 3 days. Skylar's Instagram geotags kept changing: rooftop lounge, private club, pool deck brunch, and in every photo I could spot the back of Chase's head or the sleeve of a shirt I'd bought him. I kept wondering where he was getting the cash to keep the party going. His buddies spammed the comment section. Big Bro Sky and Chase are endgame. Other chicks don't even register. Preemptive congrats to the future Mr. Mrs. H. Chase, when do we get our wedding candy? Chase never replied, but he did post a story. Just Skylar's silhouette against a sunset. I pretended I hadn't seen it. When I looked again, it was already deleted. The next morning I walked into the Sterling lobby and found a ring of spectators 3 deep. A woman was wailing loud enough to rattle the glass walls. My feet froze mid-stride. I pushed through and blurted, Dolores? What are you doing here? The woman who'd been sitting on the marble floor sprang up like a jack-in-the-box. That's her. She made my son buy her a 100-gram solid gold bangle, then dumped him. The sentence hit me like a bucket of ice water. Every head swiveled my way. That's the CEO's assistant? Looks classy, but she pulls a stunt like this. With gold this pricey, bleeding the poor guy for 100 grams? Heartless. Typical gold digger tag right there. Strangers clucked and hissed, one indignant sentence stacking on another, until it felt like they were ready to march me to the river and dunk me. Luna, I'm not here asking for the bracelet back, Dolores said, voice cracking. I just want to know, why'd you suddenly break off the engagement? To be fair, over the years she had always been kind. She'd lug crates of vegetables from her farm, stuff red envelopes in my hand, once ride-shared 3 hours at dawn just so I could have fresh eggs for breakfast. Dolores, you need to ask Chase. That bangle wasn't bought for me. Who it was really for, he can tell you. I didn't have the heart to wound her with the Skylar truth in front of half the company, so I kept my tone even, hoping she'd leave quietly. No way, she insisted. Chase said it was for your bridal gold set. I gave him 10,000 for gold, and he even sent me a photo. She thrust her phone at me. I studied the picture and laughed out loud. That hand isn't mine. I have a mole on the wrist bone. I lifted my right arm. The little black dot sat there plain as day, and the crowd had to admit the bangle had gone to someone else. Dolores stood statue still, flicking from the screen to my wrist and back. Some things you really do need to ask Chase. I gave her shoulder a gentle pat and turned to go, but she clamped onto my wrist hard enough to leave bruises. You're not walking away. We settle this now. I'm calling Chase. She dialed 5 times. Each call sank straight to voicemail. Right about now he was probably still passed out somewhere after last night's crawl. I sighed, opened my phone, pulled up Skylar's profile and offered it to her. He's with Skylar. The bangle is for Skylar. A collective gasp rippled through the lobby. Nothing beats free drama. Dolores scrolled 2 photos and frowned so deeply her eyebrows met. Luna, if you don't want to marry my son, just say so. Don't spread rumors ruining Chase and Sky's reputations. They grew up together. Nothing indecent would ever happen. I didn't understand until I looked. Skylar had nuked her entire feed overnight. Yesterday every hour showed a new story. Now the grid was empty. Fine, keep the bracelet, but you'd better return the dowry. 18,800 I wired to you. The number hit me like a thunderbolt. I'd never seen so much as $18 from them. I transferred it to the account Chase gave me, she declared. Here's the wire transfer slip, see for yourself. Suspicious, I took the paper. The account number was definitely mine, but the money had never landed. Mom! I spun around. Chase, disheveled and glassy-eyed, hadn't shown his face in days, until now. Mom, it's just a bracelet and some cash. I'll earn it back. If a woman doesn't want to marry me, you think I should force her? He wrapped an arm around Dolores, his casual tone sealing the lie that I'd accepted both gold and dowry. That won't do, Dolores snapped. She took my money and my gold, marriage or refund, nothing else. Her face hardened. She seized my hand again and started shrieking. Chase, tell them the truth. Who got the bangle and who got the cash? I never touched those things and I'm not paying for them. I wrenched free and stared her down. Dolores, let me see that slip again. This time she hugged her purse to her chest, refusing to let the paper see daylight. What's to look at? Your name is on it. I pressed the button myself. Everyone judged this. Who keeps a bride price fund after calling off the wedding? I'm 60 years old. Every dollar breaks my back. Each sentence whipped the onlookers into a fresh frenzy, and the circle tightened around me like a noose. A lot of people even raised their phones and started filming. I had no choice. I could only shield my face with my hand and try to pull Dolores and Chase to the side. But Dolores sprang back like a broken puppet and wailed even louder. My son was with her for 8 years. Every dollar he earned went straight to her. She took the bride price fund and the gold, then turned around and denied it. Come over here, everyone, and judge this for yourselves. Chase stood behind his mother, a faint smugness on his face. Watching the old woman rolling on the ground, screaming and sobbing, the last shred of pity I'd felt vanished. The saying that human hearts are no longer what they used to be played out in front of me in Technicolor. Dolores, the woman who once treated me like her own daughter, had slipped on a wolf skin and turned bloodsucker right before my eyes. Chase, did the money you earned these years really all go to me? Want me to pull my card statements and show the crowd how much I've spent on you? Chase's face darkened. He sensed he'd taken this too far. I know you're mad about Skylar, but there's nothing between her and me. Mom doesn't mean any harm. She just wants us to get married. All you have to do is say yes. He reached for my hand. I stepped aside. So the mother-son duo was trying to snatch a bride without paying a cent. Finally, I understood where Chase and Skylar had been getting the cash for their spending sprees lately. The bridal gold set went to Skylar, and the dowry had financed their round-the-world trip. Now that the well was dry, they suddenly remembered they needed a bride. Do you honestly realize you screwed up? I feigned interest, leaned in, and whispered the question. Seeing what he thought was softening, Chase nodded eagerly. Fine, forgiving you isn't impossible. The instant I wavered, Dolores popped up from the pavement, tears switched off. The speed of the transformation was jaw-dropping. But Dolores claims the dowry hit my account, and I never saw a cent. I don't need the bride price, yet that money can't just evaporate into thin air. I have to call the cops. I pulled my phone from my purse, but before I could unlock it, Chase snatched it away. Dolores flung out her hands, ready to grab it too. No need to waste police time over a trifle. It's only 18,800. Let it go, just marry me and everything's fine. Dolores bobbed her head, murmuring that I mattered most, Avery. I still insisted on reporting it. The police are here. Someone in the crowd shouted, head swiveled toward the entrance. Did you call them? Chase's fingers clamped around my wrist, his face livid. I glanced at my undialed screen for a second. I pressed the power button to black it out and looked up. So what if I did? You want to marry me, you claim I took your bangle and your dowry, and now I'm reporting lost property. What's wrong with that? My barrage left him speechless. Dolores peeked from behind him, shooting me a glare while whispering frantically. If this spirals were finished. Jengyu, think of something. What if they find out? Chase coughed. Dolores shut up instantly. Who placed the call? An officer walked over, scanned the group, and settled on Chase. Afraid I'd blurt something out, Chase stepped in front of me. Officer, it wasn't me. Just a little tiff about the wedding, nothing serious. Probably someone misunderstood and phoned it in. He gave an apologetic chuckle, but the cop wasn't buying it. He tilted his head toward me. That accurate? I slipped out from behind Chase at once. No tiff on my side, but this lady wired a large sum that disappeared. Sounds like fraud. I pointed at Dolores beside Chase. At the word fraud, the officer's antenna went up. Ma'am, were you scammed? Terrified, Dolores waved both hands. And no, Dolores, the money vanished under weird circumstances. Don't you trust the police? Show them the wire transfer slip. I cut her off and demanded the receipt. The cop asked for the slip and which bank. When Dolores couldn't answer either question, suspicion flared. Ma'am, come with us to the precinct and we'll sort it out. Hearing the word precinct, the old woman panicked. She ducked behind Chase, declaring she wouldn't go. Officer, my mom wasn't conned. We know where the money is. No need to trouble you. Chase mopped sweat from his forehead, stomach churning. He hadn't expected it to go this far. The solid gold bangle went to Skylar. The dowry financed their globetrot, and by the time he surfaced the account was almost dry. He'd figured I'd cave as usual, letting him float the idea of a zero-dowry wedding, but I'd even blocked his calls. Only then did he realize I might actually be done. Such a huge sum can't just be brushed aside. Chase, are you embezzling from your own family? You told everyone the money hit my account. Let's go to the precinct and check, see if it ever landed with me. Otherwise, after Chase and I marry, you'll still swear I took it. The onlookers agreed. A few urged Dolores to come with me to clear things up. Of course she refused. They'd blown the dowry and now wanted to shame me into a free wedding. Only then did I fully grasp the faces behind the masks I'd once loved. Seeing the tide turn, Dolores clutched her chest and staggered back. Oh, I don't feel well. Chase, take Mom to the hospital. Chase squatted anxiously, shouting for someone to dial 911. Watching the pair launch into live theater, I crouched too, voice dripping concern. My eyes locked on her tote. A white wire transfer slip peeked from the gap. Dolores, easy. The officers are right here. Chase shot me several daggers but couldn't risk saying a word in front of the crowd. I seized the moment, plucked the slip from her bag. Dolores's eyes bulged. She sprang up and lunged to snatch it back. I sidestepped, thrust the paper at the officer. Please, officer, take a look. I'm afraid this lady's been scammed. He studied the slip, frown deepening. Ma'am, we really need you to come with us. This receipt is obviously bogus. The officer spoke kindly but firmly. With her scheme collapsing, Dolores beat her chest and flopped onto the floor again. I'm not going. I said I'm not going and I meant it. What's wrong with you cops? Does the precinct have a quota to meet or something? The officers' faces darkened at the old woman's retort, but none dared talk back. Ma'am, since both you and Chase insist the money is gone and you don't need police help, I said, I guess the wedding doesn't matter anymore either. Chase yanked me impatiently, jabbing a finger at my nose. Luna, are you trying to drive my mom to her grave? I slapped his hand away. Am I the one trying to kill her? Or is it you and Skylar? Chase, look into your heart and ask yourself, have I or have I not done everything for your family these past years? And what did you do? You bought gold for another woman and blew our entire bride price fund. Then expected me to clean up the mess? Keep dreaming. I'm telling you right now, I'm not marrying you. Ever. Chase went white with rage and raised his hand to strike. I didn't flinch, I just stood there. Chase! A clear female voice rang out. I turned and saw Skylar swaying toward us, her hips swinging. The solid gold bangle on her wrist glittered under the lights. She helped Dolores to her feet first, murmured a few comforting words, then faced me. Luna, turning everything upside down over one bracelet? How tacky can you get? I'm practically Chase's half-sister. Here, take mine, now you can marry him, all right? She slipped the bangle off and tried to slide it onto my wrist. I stepped back, refusing. Skylar, spare me the act. I glanced at my watch. I was an hour late for work. The urge to settle this quickly evaporated. I couldn't care less anymore. Skylar's flawless face flashed with embarrassment. She gave a dry laugh. I've told you 100 times, Luna. I bought that bracelet myself. I snorted. Proof. Let's see the receipt. Smack. A palm connected with my cheek, burning hot. Luna, enough. Before I could answer, Skylar fired off another round. Dragging your future husband and mother-in-law here to lose face over a bracelet and the dowry. Who would dare marry you after this? Her airy tone shifted the blame, leaving her spotless. If he doesn't dare, why don't you marry him? After all, the bracelet and the dowry are already in your hands. Or are you saying you'd marry Chase even without the dowry? Skylar's expression twisted. She had no choice but to nod. Of course I'd marry Chase. I wouldn't ask for a penny. Watching her agree so readily, Chase felt something sour in his gut. He couldn't understand why I'd once swallowed every insult, but refused to swallow this one. Still, he knew one thing. He didn't want to marry Skylar. Luna, can we just drop this? You can have the bracelet and the dowry. Let's stop the drama, okay? The officers were fed up with the circus. Who called us anyway? No one answered. They muttered among themselves about leaving. I did. A familiar voice cut through the lobby. A man in a black suit stepped out of the elevator. Seeing that face I worked beside every day, I froze. Boss! A flutter of nerves made my voice quiver. Ford closed the distance in 3 long strides. I'm the one who dialed 911. But not to referee their family feud. They're disturbing my company's normal operations. At his words, the sterling employees who'd been gawking scattered. The rest, from the firms downstairs, checked their watches and bolted for the stairs. The owner says you're trespassing. Clear out or I haul you to the precinct. The officers had zero interest in he-said-she-said bickering. At the threat of the precinct, Dolores's face drained of color. She'd lived 60-odd years without ever setting foot in a police station. Pale and shaking, she tugged Chase's sleeve. Chase, maybe we should go. Chase barely heard her. His eyes were glued to Ford's shoulder touching mine. Luna, what exactly is going on between you two? Refusing to marry me, could it be because you've latched onto your boss as his little side piece? The jealous accusation left me momentarily speechless. Chase, not everyone rolls around in the gutter like you. I shot an involuntary glance at Ford. When the officers warned they'd charge them with disorderly conduct if they stayed, Chase still refused. He clung to the railing, shouting, Why aren't you taking her too? She's part of this mess. Ford stepped in front of me, voice like ice. She's my employee. Office hours mean she belongs upstairs. And as CEO, protecting my staff from harassment is part of the job. His words stung my eyes. I hadn't expected them. Normally Ford and I spoke only about work. He loathes chatter, so I keep my mouth shut. I'm also the executive assistant who's lasted longest at Sterling. Hearing him defend me, Chase swept his gaze over us, then suddenly dropped to his knees. Startled, I stumbled backward, straight into Ford's chest. Luna, it was all Skylar's idea. She swore you'd marry me no matter what, so I bought her the bangle and blew our bride price fund taking her on that round-the-world trip. Luna, I screwed up, I know it. The confession left everyone stunned. Skylar looked ready to melt into the floor. Chase! She screamed his name and lunged, swinging at him. Dolores tried to intervene and was shoved aside. The scene turned slapstick until officers barked orders and herded them out. The lobby fell eerily quiet. An awkwardness settled between Ford and me, but he acted as if nothing had happened and strode into the elevator. You've got decent instincts for projects, he said, but your taste in men is garbage. The doors slid shut, leaving me frozen inside like a statue. I thought that was the end of it. Then, that afternoon, a clip blew up online. Hashtag 8-year relationship. She dumped me over an $18,800 dowry. Hashtag 100G bangle breakup. 8 years gone because I couldn't afford a gold bracelet. I stared at those eye-catching headlines, my hand holding the phone shaking uncontrollably. That stitched-together video ignited a gender war online. Parody clips sprouted like bamboo shoots after the rain. I was branded a material girl, tagged the gold digger. Harassing calls and anonymous texts flooded my phone. My accounts were doxxed. I was cursed to worthlessness. Colleagues at Sterling whispered about it behind my back. In just 2 hours, I became the villain everyone could spit on. 8 years together, and Chase gave me the most brutal ending. It felt as if something had punctured my heart. My chest was so tight I couldn't breathe. I slipped away the first chance I got and climbed to the rooftop terrace for air. I had barely sat down when Ford's frantic shout came from behind. Luna, what do you think you're doing? I turned, saw his panicked face, and didn't understand. You'd jump off the roof over a lousy guy like that. I can fix this with one phone call. Come down now. Only then did I realize he thought I was about to jump. I burst out laughing. Boss, I just came up for a breather. Ford's mouth fell open, the worry draining from his eyes. And somehow that little interlude healed something inside me. I'll handle this myself. Ford looked surprised, on the verge of saying more, then reconsidered. All right. Call me if you need anything. That day, Ford gave me the rest of the afternoon off. Following every charge on the supplemental card statement, I bought the security cam footage from each merchant. Because the purchases were on my card, they handed the videos over without question. In one clip, I even caught Chase and Skylar kissing in a hallway. Swallowing my disgust, I edited the clips together, hired a copywriter, and paid to push it onto the trending hashtag. I also logged into the shopping app account Chase had left open on the iPad and pulled up the gift list he'd bought Skylar over the years. A single night passed. The internet exploded and the tide turned. Everyone who'd flamed me was now roasting Chase and Skylar. When I woke, I scrolled through Skylar's missed calls and a string of unknown numbers, feeling ridiculously satisfied. I knew they were all Chase. I'd blocked him, so he had to borrow strangers' phones. The phone rang again. "Luna, don't do this." His voice on the line was low, defeated. "That post wasn't me, it was Skylar. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't stop her. But if you leave it up, what happens to my mom? She can't even buy groceries without people pointing fingers." I laughed out loud. "Chase, don't you see how pathetic you sound? When Skylar does it, it's fine, but when I do it, it's not? Why don't you take a good hard look at yourself in the mirror?" I hung up before he could answer. The uproar online kept growing. Skylar lost her streamer job because of it. Every explanatory video she uploaded was mass-reported and taken down. Every fresh account she made was banned within minutes. Even Chase's accounts were suspended. With no income, Skylar moved back into Chase's house. Now Chase had 2 people to support, and the pressure crushed him overnight. Tainted by the scandal, he couldn't land a job at any major company and had to juggle gig jobs. He worked himself ragged while Skylar still demanded this and that. She even stole the old lady's retirement savings. Dolores was so furious she ended up in the hospital for weeks. "Skylar, do you even have a conscience? You took my mother's retirement money. Chase, if it weren't for you, I'd still have my job. This is all your fault." They screamed at each other day and night. Remembering the comfortable life he'd once had, Chase lay awake every night in despair. When his texts begging to get back together arrived, I laughed so hard I couldn't sleep for days. I packed every single thing he'd left at my place and shipped it to his mother's house, then had every deadbolt changed. It was the lightest, happiest day I'd had in ages. Lying on the couch, I could feel a bright, easy future rolling out ahead. I couldn't even relate to the girl who'd once been desperate to marry Chase. I'd just dozed off on the sofa when a call jolted me awake. "Luna, your ex's childhood sweetheart is raising hell at Sterling." She scratched the boss's arm. I bolted upright, heart pounding. Ford had generously given me days off, and now he'd been hurt because of my drama. I felt awful. I raced to the office and arrived just as the police led Skylar away. "Luna, tell me where you've hidden Chase. I swear I'll make you pay." Skylar's hair was a mess. The polished pretty girl was gone. Spotting Ford nearby, I rushed over. "Are you okay? How bad is the cut?" I examined his forearm and for no reason, my nose stung and tears fell. Ford startled and hurried to comfort me. "It's nothing, just a scratch. Hey, don't cry." Chase arrived just in time to see the scene. A sharp ache stabbed him. Once upon a time that warmth had been his, and now it belonged to someone else. But he knew there was no going back. If only he hadn't bought Skylar that bangle, hadn't blown the bride price fund, we might already be living the happy life he'd daydreamed about. As I led Ford outside, I caught sight of Chase's lonely silhouette. I never saw him again after that. Rumor had it Dolores forced him to marry Skylar because the gold and the bride price had been spent on her. Once married, Skylar lazed about and almost squandered what little was left. They divorced soon after. The shock gave Dolores a heart attack, and she died right there in the house. After that, no one ever mentioned Chase again. One crisp morning I reached Sterling's tower, tilted my head to the sky, and took a deep breath. I lifted my foot to go in when someone slapped my shoulder from behind. "Quit staring, clockin' late and you lose pay." Ford strode ahead of me into the elevator lobby. Grinning, I followed. At 28, my life had started turning again. Thanks for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? If you liked it, smash that like and share with friends. We can't wait to read your thoughts in the comment section, so hit subscribe for more gripping tales. See you next time.